hats on.
Yeah.
Oh. Right. What? What? Right, we're on. We're on. Starting broadcast, aren't we? Okay, hold on. Right. Okay. The Christmas Google Hangout. Welcome. They are very atmospheric. Do you like that, everyone?
Lovely. Brilliant.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Vielle Christmas Google Hangouts, where we're going to review the year. And remember, we're CPD accredited. And remember to sign up on YouTube so you can see everything and get notifications of all our sales. Right, we've got loads of guests today. This is a record for us. So let's start from the left, and I'm going to introduce everyone to you. So we've got Chris McAlpine, commercial head of Zoopla. We've got Nell, we've got my elf helper, Dale Henry.
Merry Christmas.
This is CPD accredited, very serious, right? We have Philip Nell, Hermes Investments Fund Manager Extraordinaire. We have Jonathan Crossland from Lucid Ocean, tech guru, blockchain genius, etc. We have Mark Bruno of Datscha. We have Richard Wolfer. Where's your hat, Richard? No, you turned on. Richard. We have Peter Birkett, who is standing in for Astrid and Jonathan Metlis from Howard Kennedy. And we have me, Neil Singer. Welcome. Right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do an overview of the market, which Richard is going to help us with. Richard, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this is an overview of the market as we saw it at Vielle. We've seen a 15% increase in the volume of sales compared with 2016. In addition, our market share in Scotland has also increased this year considerably compared with 2016 as well. We have acted on behalf of 45 different vendors this year, which is quite interesting. And in a calendar year where uncertainty has dominated, inflation has increased to its highest level for nearly 6 years, and interest rates increased for the first time in 10 years, our market share has increased and our database continues to increase. Online sales are at the highest rate ever of 68.5% in 2017, which also accounts for England and Wales because you can't do online exchanges in Scotland, all of which is clear evidence of the market further embracing technology, plus hopefully the quality and diversity of our sales instructions.
Great. I think it's time to take my hat off, isn't it? Should I take my hat off?
Leave it on.
No, take the hats off. Hats off. Because Phil, you didn't put your hat on. All right. Does anybody want to comment on their view of the year? Anybody? Hands up. No. Don't all jump. Don't all jump in at once. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what I believe to be the most significant thing of the year. All right. So, in my view, the most significant thing of the year for us was the launch of the click-to-purchase blockchain, and I'm going to share with you something on screen. This is this is a recording of the first ever sale done by Vielle, where immediately after the exchange, the contract and the audit trail was recorded in a blockchain ledger. First in the world, so far as we are aware, and we think that's a huge movement for the whole property industry. Now, I'm also going to share a couple of things with you because I just want to show you what people have been saying about blockchain and about click to purchase and the way Vielle use it. This is the Law Society Gazette, and interestingly enough, I had a call from Michael Cross, who is the one of the lead writers at the Law Society Gazette. I think he may be the editor, and he asked me about the transaction I just showed you, and it appeared on the front page of the Law Society Gazette, and I received a tirade of abuse online from lawyers. And what's interesting, I'm going to point you out to two. The very last comment that came in said this. It said, just if you can't read it, let me just read it back to everybody. It says, the latest game changer, and I'm all a quiver again. It's a good and entertaining game for sure, but the claims by blockchain are clearly overblown, self-serving, deliberately aggressive, and seemingly based on one commercial transaction, etc., etc. But my favorite one was this one by, again, someone very bravely, anonymously said, blockchain is unadulterated nonsense designed by someone who either has no idea about property law or worse, who does not have knowledge, but whose clear intentions to develop a high-tech way to make money easily out of the general public's ignorance of property law and computer technology. Okay, so, but what's interesting is, there's one other thing I'm actually like to share with everybody, because I think it's of relevance. What these lawyers haven't read is the government's lead scientist, Mark Walport, Sir Mark Walport. And what he says is this. He says, distributed ledger technology has the potential to transform the delivery of public and private services, etc., etc. So I think what I found about a month ago was a huge amount of ignorance about blockchain technology. And I think that for us, the exchange we did was the most significant thing of the year. The expert about blockchain is Jonathan. I don't know if you want to, Jonathan, do you want to, it might be interesting if you give everyone your view, because Jonathan is actually a blockchain developer. Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Hello.
That's it. We can hear you now.
Hi. Excellent. So I think you stole my best event of the year as well.
Oh, well, it must be really good then.
Yeah, look, for you guys, for click2purchase.com, we developed two exciting things. We did digital signatures, bringing something that was traditionally, on the fringes into something that can actually be used every day. I think that's great. I think blockchain underpinning all of that, making it immutable and having the data anchoring and having KYC is fantastic. I think, the people who think that blockchain, like those people you read, think that it might not affect the industry, property industry, or any industry. Yeah, that they need to read a couple of books first and do some research and see what's going on. It's going to change absolutely everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what I've seen from my side, I've been in the prop tech world probably for about 6, 7 years, but the last 12 months, this wave of interest in blockchain has been unbelievable. It's like nothing I've seen, and for people to dismiss it out of hand without any knowledge of what it really is actually quite ridiculous. Anyway, that's my view of the most key event of the year. Richard, do you want to tell us what you think your most key event is? Oh, you're frozen. You're frozen. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sure, no problem at all. The most significant event of the year, in my opinion, is the clear insurgence of the online estate agency model. For instance, Purple Bricks latest trading update reported now has a 74% share of the UK's online agency sector, with UK revenue up 118% and group revenue up 150%. Now, I know, having read over the last couple of days, a lot of press reports about Purple Bricks and how many commentators feel that their figures might be in some way distorted and they don't release the number of sales that they do. There is, however, clear evidence that their business is growing at an incredible rate. Their share price has had a year low of 138.25p and a high of 525p, currently trading at circa 351p, and their market cap is £958 million. Now, when you can compare that with high street estate agents such as Foxtons and Countrywide, who have both reported significant falls in profits this year. Foxtons posted a 64% fall in profits, and Countrywide recorded a 98% fall in pre-tax profits in the first half of 2017. So it's clear that these disruptors, inverted commas, are making their mark, and Purple Bricks, as well as others like Yopa, for instance, are making significant inroads into the UK estate agency sector. Obviously, Chris McAlpine at Zoopla is with us, and I'm curious to know, although he works on the commercial side, whether Zoopla have noticed a continued increase in listings from online estate agents, and has it looked at the volume of sales that are being done by online estate agents compared with their traditional high street estate agent client base?
Yeah, but as you say, I'm on the commercial side, so I can only really say what I pick up from my residential colleagues. But certainly, there seems to have been great growth in all the online agents. I don't know. I don't have any figures for how that's converted into sales. I mean, the big complaint that traditional agents seem to make about Purple Bricks is that they are quite shy about their sales figures, but certainly, you know, as a force for change, they're here to stay. That would be my opinion. I don't know what the PG opinion is, but you know, that would be my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my view is that the online agency sector can only grow, but I've said that many times before. Has anybody else got any comments on that? Anyone interested in anything?
I think technology is underpinning a lot of this. If you take cloud computing and you take the cloud application model that is being, you know, sort of infiltrating absolutely every sector, I think property technology is just one of those that is surging on the wave of growth in everything. Whether it's Slack or Trello or any technology you guys, you know, use every day, the customer base for all kinds of cloud applications is just growing.
Yeah.
I was just going to comment as well. This is not going to be one of my biggest events, but the change between last year and this year in terms of awareness of technology and what it can do for people has been huge, as far as we're seeing at least. And blockchain, which you mentioned, you know, they're clearly going to be naysayers if they think they're going to be losing their jobs in the next 2 to 5 years. But we've run a couple of blockchain seminars, and they've been incredibly popular. And even when we're not running blockchain seminars, questions about blockchain comes up in almost every single other seminar we do. So just to cover those points, it feels like, you know, the internet in '92 again. You know it's going to be big, but you don't know exactly how.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting actually. I don't know if you guys are all aware, but the government have had a call for evidence about changing the house buying process because it's such an archaic system. And actually, I actually did my submission to them today just to try and help. And I actually said one of the things I think the government should do is undertake a program of education, because people don't understand technology and they don't need to know how blockchain works. They just need to know that it's there to help, or they don't even know how people, if you think about it, you press a button now. Everyone's used to pressing buttons. So I think that but I have seen an enormous change in even the property industry related to technology in the last 12 months. Okay, next, Dale.
Yes, I'm on. Okay, so my event, I've gone with the end of the buy-to-let boom this year, because the regulatory changes introduced by the government have sent the buy-to-let boom into reverse. Firstly, they raised stamp duty by 3%. Then they introduced stiffer rules on offsetting wear and tear against tax. And then in April, they introduced an end to the higher rate tax relief for mortgage interest payments. And not only that, we've now had the mortgage rate rises, which have added to, let's say, a trying 2017 for the buy-to-let market. And what this government crackdown has done is it's just squeezed profits. It's deterred thousands from using rental property to boost their pension income. In fact, according to reports, just 2% of savers over 55 are now looking to put their money into buy-to-lets. So the result of all this is that more and more investors are moving away from residential property and looking to commercial and mixed-use investments as an alternative. According to studies, the number of buy-to-let landlords turning towards commercial property investment has grown by 200% over the last 3 years. The residential investment market, I'm not saying it's completely dead in the water, but due to these barriers and challenges that all these landlords now face, the commercial market is being seen as a very attractive alternative. And in fact, we've seen this crackdown have a direct impact on our business, because we have been receiving regular new inquiries from investors looking to make the switch from residential to commercial property investments.
Thanks, Dale. Yeah, Phil, you're the residential expert.
Well, and the broader sort of commercial real estate market as well. I think I'd agree with Dale, really. I mean, I think
Can't hear you very well.
I'll lean forward.
That's better. That's better.
Okay, there we go. No, just in terms of what sort of wider comments around the commercial and residential investment markets. I think 2017 has been a fascinating year. We sort of started the year with everybody obsessed, well, certainly in my world, obsessed with fixed income assets and this kind of hunt for yield, and everybody was expecting a sort of rotation into equities. And the equity market has gone up, but as you guys have already mentioned, there have been some real shocking falls in equity values. I mean, Countrywide's share price is something like down 36% over the year. I mean, absolutely, mind you, when it posts 98% fall in pre-tax profits, there's no wonder. The FTSE 350 and the FTSE 100 are up about 5 or 6%, and yet Landsec's price is down about 5 or 6%. And when you look at the activity recently, when Hammerson and Intu came out with their merger, and then they got slightly sort of blown out of the water by the Westfield Unibuy merger. Those are just evident. That's just evidence of this sort of inefficiency in the equity market, and the fact that investors don't seem to be sort of paying fair value for assets. And I can only see that continuing, really. So going forward next year, I think it's going to be a year of more uncertainty in equity markets. Although there's a huge amount of this sort of long income product that's going to come back to the market. I think there was an FT article the other week saying there's $1 trillion of money held in 10-year bonds that they all were bought, government bonds in 2008-9 that are relatively high yielding, that are going to be trying to recycle into a much lower yielding environment, which has got to be good for property. So I can see more money coming back into the property market next year, which is positive, actually. But I think there's going to be more M&A activity. Because I just think there's not that the equity market is seriously reflecting some shocking valuations in property assets at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Anybody got any views on that? Anyone got any views on the market? As a lawyer, Peter?
Well, actually, Des rather stolen my thunder a bit on the buy-to-let market, because I'm both a lawyer and a buy-to-let landlord. So I've been watching all the ratcheting of the political process, taking every scrap of profit out of it. But I think it also links back into the idea of using technology. I self-manage and advertise to an online agency, have done for nearly 10 years now. It just struck me as the best way of actually handling my property. And it's the industry I understand and know well. So that's where my money is. And it's probably going to stay there for the time being. Although, if I can pick out my event of the year, I was going to actually say this year's budget, which, while it bored everyone else to tears, I felt was yet another ratchet on the buy-to-let process of taking out the capital gains position for companies holding residential properties. And at some point, this is going to come back and hit us. When I did economics decades ago at school, I was told that most economic policies are like pulling a brick towards you with a piece of elastic. It doesn't move for a long time, and then suddenly it moves very quickly. And I think in 2 or 3 years' time, if all those changes squeeze their way through the system, we could find that we precipitate another housing crash with a disorderly exit from the market of a lot of people in a similar situation to myself. And they'll be dropping their properties on the market very quickly. And all the past crashes, I've now lived through 3 property crashes in the residential market. They've all been triggered by a well-intentioned change somewhere else. And I do have a fear that a couple of years from now, we'll be on the brink of another one.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Actually, if I can give you my view about the buy-to-let market, in fact, the housing market, I don't mean to be worrying people. My view is that the housing market in the UK is massively overpriced. I think that the intervention by the government, whilst perhaps well-intended in order to try and make properties available for owner-occupiers by making it more and more difficult for buy-to-let landlords to buy property, if you consider what has happened in the last few years, if you went into an estate agency office about a couple of years ago, they would have told you that 9 out of 10 of their buyers were buy-to-let investors, and maybe 1 occupier, and that, of course, drove the market price up. And secondly, the government then decided to do what I believe to be the worst idea they could possibly have come up with, is this Help to Buy scheme for first-time buyers. So they're helping first-time buyers to buy properties which they can't really afford to buy, but it only applies to the first time a property is sold. So it's inflating land values for developers, and it's inflating the value of the properties which those first-time buyers are going to buy. But when they want to sell those properties on, there's no buy-to-let investors around now because it doesn't make any sense. And the person who bought with the benefit of a buy-to-let loan from the government can't sell it to someone who's got the benefit of a buy-to-let loan. So who are they going to sell it to? And I think a lot of these first-time buyers are going to find themselves in a lot of trouble because they won't be able to sell their properties. They're basically be stuck. You're almost going to end up in negative equity again. So that's my fear about the residential market. I actually think there's a big problem, unfortunately, around the corner. I hope I'm wrong, but that's my view.
I agree.
I hope that cheers everyone up. Has that cheered everyone up?
Wait until the next government and see what they have to do with the private residential rented sector. That would be my worry.
Yeah, well, I won't be here then, so so you haven't got to worry about that. I won't have to worry about that. Right, hold on. Who hasn't given their view of the event of the year? Hold on, Chris. What's your event of the year?
Well, mine is just going to be a very narrow, selfish view as to what I'm doing with Zoopla, and it was the fact that we actually got over 50,000 listings on our commercial channel. So we feel we're getting close to 50% of the market actually being listed with us, and most of that growth has come from agents who've previously been very resistant to the idea of being on a portal, actually contacting us and coming on board. So I sort of feel the commercial agency market is catching up with the residential market in terms of using, online and digital.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Right. That's good to hear. Mark, I don't think you've given us. Have you given us?
No, I haven't. No, I save that up for later. Mine's slightly light-hearted, but not quite. This was the year we actually discovered that the Queen is no longer the largest landowner in London. We did a story earlier this year in Property Week and discovered that the Qataris actually own more buildings in London than the Queen does, which then kind of feeds into foreign ownership in the UK. I know I'm not allowed to say the B word and all that sort of stuff, but and I guess that then feeds into what we've been working on a lot on this year, is our new transactions module. So we've actually been tracking all the investment transactions in the UK, everything from Land Registry, but then we have our own research team going in and doing, providing additional information on all those deals over 3 million. So we can actually report on all these deals in great detail, and it's kind of tied to all the underlying data. So interesting how just the soundbite being the Queen is no longer the largest landowner has a lot of other implications underneath it. And we're excited to be able to reveal some of that with the new technology.
Yeah. So anybody watching, remember, if you need an introduction to Mark at Datscha, you just have to drop down myself or Richard an email, and we'll put you in touch with Mark directly. Phil, you've given. Have you given us? You've given us.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Jonathan, you talked about Trowbridge. That's it. We're all done. We've done right. Next topic, I think. Next topic, I believe, is predictions for 2018. Who would like to start?
I like to start.
Jonathan.
Right. I predict. Right. Here we go. In audio quality, my predictions. We'll see. Yeah, they're going to fail miserably. Right. Bitcoin. I think it'll double its price in the next 12 months. Definitely. I think if you think that the growth in blockchain and Bitcoin this year was phenomenal, I think you're going to be surprised. I think 2018 is going to be, it's going to kill it. I think it's going to set up for 2019, it's going to set up mainstream cryptocurrency. That's my big one.
Okay.
There are a couple of others, but I can always come back.
Okay, well, go on. Tell us what else you think.
Property industry, I don't think it's hit its peak yet. I think prop tech is still growing. I think you're going to have more statistics and big data coming through. Even drones. You're going to have drones coming in, drone footage. So the prop tech industry is going to blossom, but I don't think its peak is going to be 2018. I think it's going to come in 2019, 2020. There's a lot more to come. AI, machine learning, that's going to be big, and you're going to start finding it not just in large enterprises. You're going to see machine learning APIs through cloud system infrastructure available to you. And small businesses and cloud applications that you're using are going to leverage that. And that's going to mean a lot of new kinds of data and reporting that you've never seen before. And it's going to start in 2018, big time.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
Pleasure.
I'll give you my view in a moment, actually. I'm interested. Right, who's big in tech? Mark, what's your prediction for 2018 as you're a tech business?
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that. I'm probably going to be boring and say that. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Given the change we've seen in the last 12 months, I think the hardest thing, it's easy to build technology. The hardest thing is to change people's behavior. I think we're starting to see that happening, which is fantastic. I think that is going to be slower to change, but I completely agree with Jonathan. I think there's going to be more and more companies out there. More and more data is going to be available, and we, won't reach its peak. Well, who knows? Maybe 2 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, maybe even more. But I think there's a long way to go. And blockchain is still a massive unknown for most people, and I think will be underpinning most of what we do in an unseen way in the next, 5, 10, 20 years probably.
Okay. Okay. Phil, what's your prediction?
Okay. Well, like Jonathan, I think property is going to have a reasonably good year, actually. I mean, I know some of the predictions for next year have not been particularly positive of late, but I think it'll be income plus a bit next year. I mean, this year's just been phenomenal versus where we thought we would be at the beginning of the year. So, I think it's going to be a better year next year, or at least it's a better year than people are expecting. I think technology and property is finally going to kind of get where it needs to get to in terms of its impact on occupational imperatives. We're not allowed to talk about B, but the B word. But I think finally the city will wake up to the fact that technological change and the way that people operate and occupy buildings is going to be a massive driver of changing requirements. I can just see that coming. I mean, it's already being talked about. When people are revisiting where they want to be located, they're also looking at how many people they're going to need and how that operation is fundamentally changing. So I can see that having a big influence. And yet when you walk around the city and the same buildings are being put up in the same way they were put up 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think it's time that we all kind of woke up to the fact that we need to think about this differently. So I read something quite recently actually about, co-working and the impact of co-working. And, we kind of invented co-working in London. I mean, Lloyd's of London was founded in a coffee house. And it feels like we're going back there, and we ought to embrace that. Everyone was very cynical about WeWork. I mean, clearly there's a hell of a lot of value in their brand versus their necessarily the fundamentals of their operation. But now they're starting to buy assets rather than taking sort of leverage positions through leases. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Well, I'm
looking forward to 2018. I think it's going to be a great year. Actually, really interesting. Finally, occupational change will get top of the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Peter.
Some predictions for 2018. I think my safe one is that Man City are going to win the Premier League.
No.
Probably. I'm not a Man City fan, so it doesn't affect me one way or the other. But I think Mark touched on something that affects us as lawyers. I mean, everyone knows how quick lawyers are to adopt new technology and to change their practices. And I think it's a little bit early for blockchain and some of the technology yet, but I do see it making great strides in bringing the lawyers kicking and screaming along behind it. The point I'm looking for, what will happen in the next 12 months, is the land registry to go to blockchain. I think it's absolutely inevitable. It will be a better technology than we have at the moment. It will be three-dimensional rather than two-dimensional, which is what we work with at present. What I actually think will happen over the next 12 months is that we'll see innovative techniques coming in as to how we actually map out what we do with space as much as what we do with buildings. We're working on active programs for airspace development in London. Recently, saw a report that said there's space for 40,000 new dwellings in zones 1 and 2 alone. That's combining with innovative building technologies and the rework and processes that are coming through. We're looking at innovative lease structures that will help those operations become brandable, where the person operating the space that is co-living and reworking can actually build a business around that, which the tools available to property lawyers before have been a little bit limiting. So a lot of technological driving and a lot of lawyers desperately trying to catch up is probably my best prediction for 2018.
Did you, can I get this right? Did you just say that you thought the land registry would be in blockchain next year?
No, not next year, but it will go eventually, and I think the technology will lead towards that. Uncorruptible public data is the single biggest benefit to conveyancing. I've been doing this 30 years. I've seen simple steps like being able to get land registry records online at a moment's notice. My record for killing a deal is 15 minutes when I downloaded the title and found a restrictive covenant that prevented development. That was fantastic for our client because it cost them virtually nothing. One phone call and they knew instantly that the scheme was not viable.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you think it's of significance that for the land registry to have been a blockchain ledger?
Because once that system goes to blockchain, everything else will have to fit into that system. It will be driven from the land registry coming down, and all the other systems will have to use it, but they'll be using the spatial data that will come out of the land registry to provide information on things like planning applications and consents, for records of where leases fit into a building. I was asked many years ago if there's a way of mapping not just what the terms of a lease are in terms of dates and numbers and amounts and rent reviews and such like, but actually finding some way of mapping which bit of a building was included in each demise. If we can get three-dimensional land registry, we can do that.
Okay, can I give you my view about the land registry and blockchain? If people,
why not?
I think this is. I don't agree actually at all. I think that the industry, the blockchain industry and the prop tech blockchain industry is focusing on putting title registries into a blockchain ledger. So you've got proof of ownership. Well, and I think there's a lot of people who've got self-interest in trying to get this done, as Jonathan and I have discussed. And I think that the key point is not the registering at the land registry, because that system already works well. It is the actual execution of the contract.
Absolutely.
And it's the speed of execution, the right to ownership is where blockchain will have its major impact, not necessarily then recording it. The recording it at the land registry is an event that will follow, but it's about the exchange. How many times have you heard someone, have you ever heard a house buyer say, oh, you know what, it took me so long between complete exchanging it and getting it completed and listed in the land registry? No one ever says that. What they say is, it took me so long to exchange. It's the exchange is the key point.
But as long as we do have an issue with the registration gap between the transaction happening and title coming back, it's not as bad as it used to be. My record was over 3 years to get the title registered. Thankfully, it doesn't take quite that long now.
Yeah, no, I think that's that it will follow, but the system's already. I think it's already pretty good. I think what will happen is by having the land registry in blockchain, you're right. It will start a process flow. I think that when you've got a proof of ownership in your digital wallet, by reference to a blockchain ledger, I think that's when the market will start to move very quickly. And funnily enough, I have heard of one business which does enable you to exchange contracts very speedily online. Does anybody know what that business is? Anyone? It's a business that I have worked with my friend Jonathan on, and
I have a question actually, Neil. What the transaction you mentioned at the beginning of this hangout? What was it and where is it?
Okay, so what it was a shop. It's interesting. It was a shop that we sold in Trowbridge.
Okay.
We put it on the market on a Monday. It was bought by a dentist on Thursday, and he actually bought it between appointments. This is absolute. He apparently he'd spent what, 2 years trying to buy it, guys? 2 years trying to buy a property investment, couldn't buy one. He bought it between appointments. He clicked a button, made an offer, and we accepted the offer, and the contract exchanged. And the key is, within, I think it was 3 minutes, it was recorded in the blockchain ledger. So he had absolute proof of ownership, of the rights to ownership, from
So 3 minutes. No. Don't insult me there, Neil. It wasn't 3 minutes.
I got it wrong. What was it?
23 seconds. It was.
Oh,
in.
I'm so sorry.
It was propagated. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, 23. Sorry, you're never going to forgive me, are you? Oh, okay. Sorry. My mistake.
Yeah, I think the hold up in the queue was actually the email connecting to the SMTP service just to notify everyone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. 23 seconds. There you are. So it took him from Monday to Thursday in order to buy a building online and have it recorded in a blockchain ledger, which meant he had immutable proof. So if he then wants to sell it on to the next person, the point is that it actually, by having ownership proven in his digital wallet, he can pass it on, and nobody needs to actually check that he owns the building because he's got proof of ownership. And I think that's what the whole point about blockchain is. That's why I believe it's the exchange that's the key point, and not the completion and the listing of the land registry. But there are some people who I think probably Mark and I know well and maybe Chris as well, in the prop tech community, who don't like to hear that because they're trying to make a living out of telling people otherwise. But that's just my view. Okay, who hasn't given us their prediction for the year? Dale.
Not particularly uplifting one, I'm afraid, but my one is I can see a further decline of the high street, increase in the number of retail stores falling, but the share of online retail sales will rise further. But I can see more retailers going into administration, more pain out there. We'll have to see what happens with the Christmas trading, which I know is key. But yeah, I think there is a lot more pain to come on the high street. That's my prediction.
Great, thanks, Dale. Right,
sorry about that. Right, so everyone go Christmas shopping, please.
Right, Richard.
Muted.
Okay, I'm going to. All right, okay, I'm going to give you mine. Shall I give you mine? I agree with Jonathan completely. I think Bitcoins are going to rocket, actually. I think that whilst they've gone up enormously, all of a sudden it's got into the press. It's a bit like the .com boom. Everyone I know wants to buy a Bitcoin. Everyone I know. It's like buying, do you remember that Affinity Internet shares a few years ago when it all went up and everyone bought them and then it all crashed? Same thing.
Surely that's when you should be selling, right? When your Uber driver is talking about buying Bitcoins, that's when you sell. Yeah,
but Bitcoin's an asset class. It's not relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Hold on.
Mark, I think that it will just become an asset class. It'll become part of a global asset in the same way paintings, cars, etc. And it won't just be Bitcoins. There'll be loads of others. So that's why.
Isn't the old adage when High Street talks, Wall Street walks? When it gets down to the Uber driver, surely that is the point at which the big investors.
There'll be no Uber drivers in 5 years. It'll be all autonomous.
Yep.
Self-driving.
Yep. Right, that's the first thing. The next thing I think is going to happen is I think our biggest estate agency is going to collapse. That's what I think. I think there's going to be a big name is going to go bust in the next 12 months. And I think that is all due to the change of habits combined with the slowdown of the market, combined with the downward pressure on high street estate agency fees, etc. So that's a good one. So if anyone's an estate agent and wants to, has got a comment, wants to send us a message, we'd love to hear from you. And the last thing I'm going to say is that I think there is something around which people may or may not be familiar with, called an ICO, an initial coin offering. It's a way of raising money based upon a blockchain business, and there's been millions of dollars pouring into companies on what's ICOs. It's effectively it's a way of tokenizing a business. I won't go into it in too much detail. I think there'll be a horror story next year. There's going to be someone's going to lose a lot of money, or some people are going to lose a lot of money, and you may not have heard of ICOs now. In the same way that a lot of people hadn't heard about blockchain this time last year, everybody will know what an ICO is this time next year. So that's my prediction for 2018. Is it right? Everyone's predicted. Everyone predicted? Right.
I've got one more.
Go on.
I've got one more. Yeah.
Yep.
Data insurance.
Pardon?
Data insurance will grow massively. We've got legal here. How's that going to be affected by cloud data, moving your data to other countries when your servers are running in Ireland and then in Singapore? I think data insurance, big data, all that kind of thing, company stuff, there's going to be some issues around there this coming year.
I tell you what, I tell you what, there will be an issue around. I don't know if there's the new GDPR rules coming in May next year, and the GDPR rules state that you, as a data holder, have to allow people to be able to delete their data. But the whole point about blockchain technology is that you can't delete data. So there's a law coming in May which cannot be enforced if you have a blockchain business. So I don't know what that's going to do. But I have discussed that with lawyers, actually. You know, we'll see what happens. Right. Who's got a right, now the fun bit. Now, right, this is the competition. Right, has everybody got a question for the other guests?
I did, but you stole it, and mine was actually about GDPR and how it's going to affect everyone.
Oh, no, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, shall I start? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll start, and let's, even if it's, mine is the only question, let's see what happens. So here's my question, right? And everyone's going to answer, and there's going to be a prize at the end. Okay. Which one of these existed 10 years ago? All right. Which one of these existed 10 years ago? Okay. And Dale and Richard, you're excluded. All right. You're not allowed to answer this. All right. So which one of these existed 10 years ago? Airbnb, Bitcoins, iPads, Google Chrome, SingerVLSales.com, Instagram, WhatsApp, and that's it. Which one of those existed 10 years ago? Right, Chris, what's your vote?
SingerVLSales.com.
Okay, yours going for SingerVLSales.com. Okay, Phil?
Well, I think I use SingerVLSales.com, so I'm going to say the same thing.
Okay. Jonathan?
I smell a rat in the question. SingerVLSales.com.
Interesting. Mark, Bruno?
You know, the last 10 years is a bit of a blur, but I'm going to have to agree with everyone else.
Okay, and Peter?
If you can remember 10 years ago, you couldn't have been doing it properly, so I think it's definitely SingerVL.
Yeah. Well, interesting enough, you're all right. So, funnily enough, it was, so you're getting a point. It was SingerVLSales.com. I don't like to say that we were ahead of the curve, but we were ahead of the curve. Right. Next question, Dale, your turn.
Okay, here's my question. What percentage of visitors to SingerVLSales.com have been via a mobile device since the 1st of January 2017? Now, do you want a multiple choice or no?
No.
Okay. So what percentage of visitors to SingerVLSales.com have been via a mobile device since the beginning of this year?
Right. Chris, what's your guess?
63%.
63%. Good. Have you ever heard the expression "your mouth to God's ears"? Right. Hold on. 63%. Right. Phil.
I'll go a bit lower. I'll say 50.
50. Jonathan.
14.
14.
Oh.
Mark.
You know, I was going to go higher until you said that.
It's a bluff.
Because I was shocked how high the access to our site was for mobile. So I'm going to say 76.
76. Peter.
I'm working on principle. Any big philosophical question always has the answer 42.
I'm saying 42. Dale, reveal.
Okay. Is this where I've revealed the true answer, or the answer is 22%? So I think Jonathan was.
Funny enough, that 22 was sitting in my head for a while, and then I thought, no, it's got to be lower. It's got to be lower.
It's not bad though, is it? I mean, it's not bad. 22% on a mobile device.
I'm going to question what you call mobile device, though.
Yeah, Dale.
Google Analytics.
Yeah, Dale. Do you mean a phone or an iPad combined? No. I think it's higher. I think it's higher. I think it's high. You know, I think it's 22% on a phone. Yeah. Anyway, I always say to the people I work with, attention to detail. Right. Okay. Right. That's my question. Dale's question. Richard, you got a question for us?
Wait. Sorry. Just to clarify, am I 1-0 in the lead?
Yeah, you're 1-0 in the lead. Yeah,
Okay,
you're
right,
winning.
fantastic. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Neil, I'm just about to run out of battery, so I'm just going to move my laptop.
Okay,
So
don't worry.
I might log out and log back in.
All right, okay. Right, who's got a question? Phil, do you have a question for us?
Well, I did. Well, I had written down a couple of questions, but I thought they were more existential, like people's views. So anyway, I've come up with something while we were all talking there.
Come on then.
So I think this is sort of on theme. So we launched a build-to-rent building in Liverpool in August, which was 324 units, a mixture of 1 bed, 2 beds, and 3 beds. Okay, and we've been marketing that. We've done very well, actually. We are up to now something like 70% let in 3 months, which is pretty good. Certainly way ahead of where we thought we'd be. We thought we'd be at this number in February.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's in Liverpool, between the docks and Liverpool 1.
Okay.
So it's purpose-built, build-to-rent scheme, 324 units. We're about 75% let already. What percentage of residents have come to us via Zoopla and Rightmove? So we're using a combination of letting agents, website, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. What percentage have come through Zoopla and Rightmove for that scheme?
68%.
You're saying 68%. I want to write this down. Hold on. Jonathan's saying 68%. Okay. Chris, you don't know the answer on this, do you, Chris?
I mean, does that include people who go to your agent via Zoopla or Rightmove?
Well, it's really how do people, I suppose it's very hard to track whether they've only accessed, effectively accessed details on the building through Rightmove and Zoopla, but it's more a sort of how do they first engage with us, get hold of information, and then speak to guys on the site.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to go for 92% plus.
Ooh, okay.
Wow. Okay. Dale?
I'm going to go 82%.
Okay. Hold on. Who we done? Who we got? Mark. Did you hear the question, Mark?
I didn't.
Okay. Phil.
Okay, I'll ask you. I'll say it again. So it's a 324 unit build-to-rent scheme in Liverpool. It was launched in August and it's about 75% let. What percentage of residents have initially come to the building? In other words, found out about it, looked up details, etc. What percentage of them have come through Zoopla and Rightmove?
Ooh.
And we've been using all sorts of things. So, websites, all the jazz, social media.
I'm going to go with 73 again.
Ooh,
73. Okay. Richard?
I'm going to go with 68%.
Peter?
Jonathan, okay.
Peter?
Right at some point, I'm going to go 42 again.
Oh, right.
There will be a question.
I've got a question before I answer it. What's the age profile of your residents?
Okay. So I didn't say this, right?
I know. That's why I'm asking you.
I would say the majority, probably 70%, are what we term renty something, so 24 to 35-year-olds.
Okay, I'm going to say 20%.
Okay.
I'm going to say so. The reason I might be wrong. I think it's way down because I think those sort of people find it all through social media, Facebook, all that stuff. There you go. That's my view. So I'm somewhat different to other people. But let's see. What's the answer?
I'm disappointed to say that Jonathan, Richard, and I can't remember who said 73% now, but it's almost exactly 70%.
Is it?
Now,
I'm completely wrong then.
I'm disappointed because exactly like you, Neil, I expected more to come through social media.
Interesting.
Not at all.
Interesting. Oh, okay. So hold on.
Traditional
What's the answer? Did you say 70?
70, yeah, it's pretty much bang on 70% today.
Okay, so Jonathan's on 68, and who said Richard said 68?
Yeah, somebody said 73, but
I said 73.
Okay, well I'm afraid 68's closer. There you go. So there's two. That's Richard's on 1, Jonathan's on 2.
You got to give Mark at least 1 point for that. Come on, that's 1 point off.
I'll give you half. I'll give you half.
The story of my life.
Right.
Where did the other 30% come from?
The other 30% came from pretty much all social media. Well, the website actually delivered about 10. So it's about 10 on the website and then the rest on social media.
Now, social media kind of advertising, or is it just word of mouth through friends?
Word of mouth, referrals, likes, all that.
Oh, I'm surprised. I have to say I'm surprised.
Right. Actually, we have, to put this in perspective, we've just launched one in Manchester. So clearly the Manchester posse are a bit younger and more edgy. So there, only about 50% have come through Rightmove and Zoopla.
Worrying, Chris, eh? Very worrying, that. Okay, who's got the next question? Who's got one?
I've got a question.
Okay.
How many people are watching right now live stream on YouTube?
Well, we can see.
And anyone's got that open, just
well, I can see the answer.
Oh,
3,
come on.
4. Including...
Well,
including us?
Wait, it's going down. Hang on. This is a moving target.
No, we normally get, a couple of thousand people, we're an educational body that we are. Right, is that your question? Was that your question?
I had an existential one.
I don't mind. We'll have to have an existential. Anyone got a factual question, or is it all existential? Is that how you say it? Anyone?
Yeah, existential. I've got a question, but it's got no numbers behind it. I was just wondering whether you think that foreign investment into the UK is going to continue at the pace it has.
I would say not at the pace it has, but at some significant pace, in my view.
Okay. At what level?
Personally, I think it's going to drop. It depends where you are, and obviously London tends to take the lion's share. But I think nationally it's been something like 30%, hasn't it, this year? So I think it's going to be a bit off that, but I still think it's going to be strong in the 20s.
See, I think that it's interesting. I don't know if anyone really collects the data very well, because I have a feeling
we're starting to now.
Yeah, but you do use your data, and I think I'm correct me if I'm wrong. You just said your data is 3 million plus generally.
We've got everything Land Registry has, and then we go in more detail for everything over 3 million. So it's mostly commercial as opposed to resi.
So you would be able to know on that on a £500,000 property who's bought it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So you've analysed that. So what's your feedback from the market?
I wish I had the figures to hand, but stupidly I don't have them in front of me.
Okay. All right. Okay. So because I can
post it afterwards if you like.
Yeah. So what we do is we sell most of our properties up to 5 million. That's the nature of our agency, as people watching will know. And we get about 20 to 25% of our traffic is from abroad, from people as far away as South Africa, Far East, America. And yet most of the buyers are UK based. And we feel that this term, foreign investors, is really, my guess is it's primarily aimed at the big trophy deals. So for when you mention that a lot of the investment is 30% around the country, I think that's because that's where you got to look at who's collecting that data, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure myself.
It depends on how you measure. If it's just done by kind of area, or if it's just done by pure pound value. So there are many different ways to look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So hold on, who's got the answer right? Has anyone got an answer? No one's really.
No, it's one of those existential ones.
There's no answer. There's no answer. Okay, has anyone got a factual? Anyone got a question with an answer? No. If not, I'm going to declare the winner. I'm going to declare the winner in a minute. Okay, I'm going to declare the winner. Jonathan.
Can I wait a second? I've got one more question. It's got nothing to do with property.
Oh,
go
on. How many bees does it take to make a jar of honey?
How many bees?
Yeah.
Is this a joke?
No, serious answer. You wanted something to do with numbers.
1.
How many bees to take a jar? How many bees
to make a jar of honey? Yeah.
How big's the jar?
He's clever. You know what? He's not a fund manager for nothing, is he? Do you know what? I have to tell you. Now I'm going to invest in the Hermes fund.
He knows his bees.
He knows his bees. All right. So have we got to? So we've got to answer this one, have we?
No, if you wanted another numbers question.
Okay, Chris, how many bees?
800.
800. All right, 800. Dale?
500.
Why?
I don't know why we're doing this, but anyway, go on, Phil. Hold on.
Well, okay, assuming it's a standard size jar of honey, I'm going to go, I don't know, what's the hive? 300.
Okay, I'll go for thousands. We're talking like what, 500,000 bees? A jar, big jar. Yeah. What do they do? Little amount of. Yeah, it's 500,000.
Really?
Right.
Blimey.
And they die. Before they make a little bit of honey, they die, right?
Richard. What's your answer?
My answer is.
We can't hear you, but go on. You're not turned on.
I am turned on. Phone keeps.
That's it.
My answer is 750 bees.
Peter.
If I'm last to answer, and it's going to be more.
No, you're not. I have not.
Wait,
42.
You're going to say 42?
No.
42 again.
801.
Okay. Doesn't it depend on how big the bee is?
So the bee doesn't make it.
I'm going to go low. I'm going low. 50.
Well, I hate to tell you, Jonathan's the winner. The answer is 4 million.
Oh my word! He is.
So now you're going to think twice
my.
before you eat that honey again.
Wow.
There you go.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll. Right.
Wait, smug face, yeah?
Yeah, smug face. Okay, any more questions? If not, I'm going to declare the winner.
Declare it.
Right, I'm declaring the winner. Jonathan, you are the Singer Vielle 2017 Christmas quiz winner of the year. Very good, very good. Right. Okay, now, the last thing we're going to do, I think we're done. Has anyone got anything to talk about? Anything? I've got one other thing to, I need to bring to everyone's attention. Has anybody got anything they want to mention? Okay. So there's one last thing we're going to do. Okay. So I'm now going to announce the Singer Vielle Property Personality of the Year Award. Okay. I have the envelope here. So this is, all right, the Singer Vielle Property Personality of the Year Award. Okay. And the nominations are, right, Mark Bruno, right, Chris McAlpine, Philip Nell, Jonathan Crossland, Astrid Stanley, and Jonathan Mettis as a stand-in Peter Birkett, Dell Henry, Richard Walfrid, and Neil Singer. Okay, so I'm going to open the envelope now. And the winner is, well, I'm very flattered. I'm very flattered. What can I say? Neil Singer. I feel very humbled to win the Singer Vielle Property Personality of the Year Award. So thank you very much, everybody. And I'd like to. There's one other award. We'd like no round of applause. Right. Second end of year Singer Vielle Business of the Year Awards, okay? And the nominations are Datscha, Zoopla, Hermes, Lucid Ocean, Howard Kennedy, and Singer Vielle. Okay, and again, I'm going to open the envelope. So this is completely legit, all right? And, okay, hold on a minute. And the winner is... Well, I'm really amazed. Singer Vielle is the Singer Vielle 2017 Business of the Year Award. So I think a round of applause, guys. We've done very well this year. So I'd just like to thank our judging panel on these awards, just to prove that, because a lot of these property was always fixed. And our judging panel was Dale Henry. I'd like to thank Dale. I'd like to thank Richard Walfrid, my father, Nat Singer, who I'm sure is watching, and last but not least, and most importantly, my wife, Gabrielle Singer. So in no way are these awards biased. Right. So thank you very much. So that's it, guys. That's it. We've been running for an hour, so everyone can get an hour's CPD certificate by contacting us. I hope it's been great. Great. So anyone want to say goodbye? Anything to round off? No?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay, so Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Great. Dale, I'll see you in 2 seconds. Phil, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Jonathan, thank you very much. Mark, great. Richard, great. Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
And I want to thank everyone at Singer Vielle, Faye, Luann, Richard, Dale, everyone who's helped us, Jonathan, Graham, who's on a flight to America. And thank you very much. We had a great year. Have a great Christmas. So that's the end of it. Oh, look at that. Finishing on an hour. Thanks very much, guys. All the best.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Cheers. Bye.